I was always insecure because, to be honest, I had very bad acne when I was at school, and I had my nose was very big.
You've lied to doctors.
Bones are narrowed properly. Good support. All the cartilage has been removed from your brain.
Yeah.
There's nothing.
So whenever someone says no, I just fly to a different country and find a doctor that says yes.
No, I'm not going to get addicted.
I think we're past that already.
Do you think I'm addicted? I want to look like a K-pop star.
I do want to have a reduction.
I actually look Korean now.
Who is Oli London? To some of you, he's a nut job that underwent countless procedures to subtract the from Caucasian, becoming Asian.
Bruh.
But he's so much more than just that. He's Jimin.
I'm identical to Jimin.
He's the husband of Jimin.
사랑해, Jimin.
He's a woman.
So why did you decide to become a Korean woman?
He's the wife of bootleg Jimin and the mother of their child.
Who told you that was possible?
He's Rose from Blackpink,
But I've just had all my surgery to look like Rose.
a women's rights advocate,
If someone can change their gender, which for many women can be very offensive,
a born-again Christian,
who famously ran someone over. But that's actually not the most important thing about Caitlyn Jenner.
So basically I've got a new book coming out.
Gender Madness, one man's devastating struggle with woke ideology and his battle to protect children. Couldn't have chosen the shorter title, but that's besides the point. This is the true story of Oli London, a modern-day martyr. Born 14th of January 1990, Oli has described himself as quite feminine from a young age, and like most boys, he was much more content playing with Barbie. Needless to say, his gender non-conforming tendencies made him the target of bullying. As you're probably well aware, bullies will often sniff out any potential insecurities, and at a time when appearance matters the most, they didn't have to look much further than Oli's terrible acne, big nose, and boobs, otherwise known as man boobs. I've had those. As you can imagine, he grew up with very little confidence, convinced there's something wrong with him, desperate to change. It wasn't until 2013, when Oli was 23, that he moved to South Korea for a year to teach English. You could say this is where his road to infamy began.
Thanks to my time in Korea, I'm now plastic fantastic and obsessed with plastic surgery.
Korea is known for their impossibly high beauty standards. They prioritize a slim figure, smooth and pale skin, V-shaped jaw, small face and button nose, large eyes and double eyelids. Unless you were extremely lucky with the genetic lottery, you probably don't tick off all of these boxes. If you're of Korean descent especially, chances are that you were born with monolids rather than double eyelids. That's not to say that you're doomed to stay a freak of nature. All you have to do is go under the knife. Plastic surgery is not exactly unheard of. We see it all the time on TV, TikTok and Instagram, but depending on where you live, it's not exactly the norm. You're not gonna see Joanne down the street get a BBL anytime soon, but who knows what the future holds. Live your truth, Joanne. I just think she deserves a boost of confidence ever since the divorce, you know. South Koreans' relation to plastic surgery, however, is on a whole other level, and that's why it's often referred to as the capital of plastic surgery. Some estimate that about 1/3 of South Korean women between the ages of 19 to 29 have undergone it at some point. Oli London, who wasn't happy with the way he looked, found himself surrounded by advertisements for plastic surgery. This was the solution to his problems, and when seemingly everyone around you is doing it, it becomes normal. It's no longer a big deal.
But you have to break your jaw?
I don't even know.
Oh my God.
I know. Sometimes it's best not to know.
Is it really any wonder that Oli eventually decided to get his very first cosmetic surgery? Rhinoplasty, to be specific. Nothing too crazy, just gonna take a little bit off the tip. No one could have predicted how this seemingly innocuous decision would change the trajectory of Oli London's life. Dissatisfied with the results, Oli would pursue further plastic surgery to improve what he's described as a botched rhinoplasty. Rather than fixing, in his own words, bulbous problem, he soon found himself wanting to make more and more changes as he developed a plastic surgery addiction.
It's harder and harder for me to find things that are different to do. And I have to continually up the ante in my own mind to be able to do television and to stay relevant. I have to have more surgery. And I continually have it because I do get addicted to that attention.
This is far from an isolated incident. In fact, quite a handful of people have made careers off of getting plastic surgery, etc. If you were to do a deep dive into the body modification community, you'd find that Oli doesn't even come close to competing with the most severe cases of what some would refer to as mutilation. The Black Alien Project is what first comes to mind, and if you're squeamish, I suggest you do not look that up.
Oh, okay.
It's disgusting. Neither is he the first one to latch on to an already established name. People have modeled themselves after iconic names like Barbie, Ken, Kim Kardashian, Michael Jackson.
Mikey Jackson! Jävlar! Han moonwalkar ute I skogen! Shit!
And even Trunks from Dragon Ball. I'm sure some of these people genuinely idolize and are inspired by whomever they're trying to copy, but there's no denying it's a great marketing tactic. I don't think it's a coincidence that Oli London became known to the wider public as a guy who's obsessed with lead singer Jimin to a creepy degree around the time when BTS was finally gaining recognition on an international level.
Don't ever use the word smart with me.
BTS are the #1 K-pop band. As you probably know, they made their debut in 2013, but only rocketed to stardom after the mid-21st century. Us Westerners hadn't seen anything like it since Gangnam Style. I don't think I have to tell you about their infamous and rampant fan base. The only fandom that could possibly out-cringe them would be their DSMP fandom. Not only is there bound to be a couple of nutjobs among the sheer number of fans, they're also quite young. Young people do stupid all of the time. It's more understandable that a bunch of underdeveloped rugrats would act as a public nuisance. I can forgive that. I can forgive that because they don't know any better. Oli London, on the other hand, would have been 28 years old at the time he first appeared on Barcroft TV in a video titled "I've spent 100,000 to look like a K-pop star, hooked on the look."
Like the shape of his face and also the eyes as well.
It's much more rounded than Caucasians' faces in general. There's more fat, tissue.
I actually look Korean now.
Oh yeah,
I actually look Korean.
say like that.
And you put the Korean injection in me, I feel Korean, wow. Just like Jimin.
Mind you, this was around 3 years before Oli had even come out as non-binary in an infamous video recorded during his recovery from an eye surgery to affirm his trans-Korean identity, pronouns they, them, and Korean Jimin. With a history of constant attention seeking, anyone with half a brain could see that this was just another ploy to get attention at the expense of his dignity. Though many were willing to respect his desire to use gender-neutral pronouns at the time, many remained skeptical. Non-binary or not, he was still a troll who thrived off of outrage. In this initial Barcroft TV video, Oli London was confronted by his friend who were concerned for him, not only because of the risks that come with these procedures, but they suspected he was already well into a plastic surgery addiction.
You know, I'm not going to get addicted.
I think we're past that, Oli.
You think I'm addicted?
Do you not think you're addicted?
I don't think I've done that much, you know. I don't think it's an addiction. I just think it's I have a strong interest in pursuing my goal.
Oli would disregard his friend's concern and go on to get even more work done. He appeared on Barcraft again only a year later, together with his close friend and fellow cloud shark, Frenchie. He traveled to Korea to get multiple procedures done at once, kicking it all off with a lobotomy. Just kidding. Though he might as well, seeing as he got another nose job, because that's totally reasonable, and it's not like it's common knowledge that it can permanently f up your snout.
Mikey Jackson!
Shh. Mikey Jackson, now is not a good time. Please don't mind him, he's just a little bit disoriented ever since we brought him out of the freezer. Please don't tell any authorities either that we've got the body of Michael Jackson. Thank you.
In order to shape or rebuild a nose, there needs to be a certain amount of cartilage to work with. In Oliver's case, he barely has any cartilage, which is going to make it difficult to give him the look that he wants, but it would also make it an incredibly high-risk surgery.
On top of that, he had his cheekbones reduced, which they accessed through cutting up his hairline and pulling down his skin to shave down the bone. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to wash my brain with bleach after this. They also did work on his chin and jaw to emulate K-pop stars, who often have sharp, V-shaped faces. He described how they will have to shave down the bone from the inside of his mouth, and when Frenchie asked questions, it's very reassuring to see that he totally knows what he's talking about.
Oh, does it have to break your jaw?
I don't even know.
Oh my god.
I know. Sometimes it's best not to know.
Cut the cameras. Dead.
See, this is exactly what transphobes think transitioning is like. If you're seeing a reputable surgeon, you will be well aware of the ins and outs of the surgery. Even then, most people who are serious and responsible will look that up before even having a consultation. To take Oli's experience into consideration as if it's anywhere near reflective of plastic surgery in general would be like talking to an alcoholic to learn about drinking in moderation. I'm sure they might provide some insight, but it's still from the perspective of an alcoholic. An addict. Oli London should not be a spokesperson for plastic surgery, let alone gender-affirming surgery. What is wrong with you guys?
Not every doctor has that though. It depends what country. You know, I've had surgery, I think about 6 or 7 countries, I can't even remember. So I kind of go around the world because, you know, the UK, the doctors are quite strict and they weren't really telling me what I wanted to hear.
Now it has become so easy. So they don't have the psychiatrist appointments anymore. They don't have, you know, having to wait several years to transition. Now it's a very fast track process, and that's the real issue.
The doctors are quite strict.
The procedures he had done in Korea actually resemble that of facial feminization surgery. FFS is a range of procedures used to achieve a more traditionally feminine face shape. None of this is exclusive to trans people. Even cis women unhappy with their features may want to get a jaw reduction, or for the instance, a man who wants to look like a K-pop idol. This is exactly why I find his retelling of events so confusing, because I'm unsure whether he's referring to his major surgery in Korea, which was documented by Barcraft TV when talking about his facial feminization surgery.
So I had facial feminization, had 11 procedures, had all my bones shaved to make it more feminine.
As someone who doesn't give a flying what others are doing with their bodies, I'm still not gonna let Oli London rewrite history and attribute his insane surgeries to trans ideology, knowing damn well that transgenderism was only an afterthought after having milked the trans Korean grift completely dry. Yet, I suppose it's possible he might have had another facial feminization surgery more recently, though I'd have to wonder how anyone could possibly shave down his bone even further.
My quest to be just like Jimin, I've spent about $250,000. I've probably had over 100 procedures and I've traveled all over the world to get the surgery.
As Oli London appeared on the show, Botched, surgeons confirmed what most people already suspected. There's barely anything left to work with.
All you have is 2 little pieces of cartilage right here. So even if I wanted to, you can't make this smaller because there's no cartilage here, it's gone. Your nose already is as close as possible. You're done.
Oh my God.
So I kind of need to listen to his advice, but then I kind of need to continue following my dream to look like Jimin.
Whether Oli ever considered himself trans at one point or another is completely irrelevant. At the end of the day, this is the behavior of an addict and attention seeker. He will go to great lengths to get surgery against every professional's advice. If one surgeon deems a procedure too high of a risk, he'll just find someone that doesn't care. It's not a question of trans healthcare, but rather of medical tourism. You could find someone to cut off your limbs if you so wanted to.
I've traveled all around the world to have 4 different nose surgeries and it's still not perfect.
Oliver went out of the country to have plastic surgery. If you look hard enough, you can always find a plastic surgeon somewhere to do extreme plastic surgery on you. Although medical tourism is very popular, it can also be very dangerous. You don't know who the surgeon is, anything about the clinic, and if you have a complication, you don't know who's going to be taking care of you.
By the way, I should mention that this video starts out with Oli together with his husband, cardboard cutout Jimin.
Oh my God, it's so cool, right? Wow. Sarang, hey Jimin. This is the best day ever. I've got multiple cardboard cutouts of Jimin. I take Jimin to the restaurant, I sleep with Jimin in the bed.
How much longer are we gonna pretend that this is genuine? Like, it's insane, but he's doing it for clout. This is some 𝒄𝒐𝒎𝒆 behavior.
I woke up this morning feeling like a chicken nugget.
Even his former friend, Frenchie, came out against him. You haven't seen backstabbing like this since Julius Caesar. You were there for his facial feminization. What about the doctor shopping? Frenchie, how could you do this to him?
What's up, Frenchie?
Hey, what's up with you?
Not too much.
What I really love about this video is just how natural it is. Like, it doesn't seem staged at all. Just a D-list celebrity walking down a completely empty street with her black friend, when suddenly paparazzi approaches her from the front, posing the question,
Frenchie, are you racist?
No! I can't be the only one who gets the feeling she chose to have a black friend with her to show how not racist she is. I'm not racist, I have black friends. Her black friends.
Frenchie's not racist, she likes BBC.
Oh
boy!
Not the British Broadcasting Corporation.
Can you really blame me for questioning her motives and whether she's a reliable narrator? I mean, not only would I hardly call it narrating because you can't make out 75% of her words.
I do not stand up for rooting and looting on those people who are paid by globalist George Soros thousands of dollars to destroy America. Those people need to be put down.
Electric chair.
But she's quite the shady character herself. It's a shame she cut ties with Oli like they're perfect for each other. According to Frenchie, he's not only a worker, but also a racist. Unlike Frenchie, he's a racist. I wonder if she figured out that one on her own, cause it's not like he built an entire brand off of racism towards Asians. That's when she provides us with the most solid evidence where Oli London himself admits to using the BLM movement to get cameos.
And also because I've been a lot on Twitter, there's been so many people talking about me on Twitter because I'm supporting the Black Lives Matter and protests and stuff, so I had 200,000 views on the video, so because of that as well I'm getting a lot of requests, so it's just, you know, I'm just staying relevant in the news, on TV and stuff, because, you know, the more exposure I have, you know, if I'm trending on Twitter or whatever on TV, then the more cameos I get, so yeah.
There it is. There it is, straight from the horse's mouth itself. He's a self-admitted leech with no morals nor credibility. Someone with genuine concerns regarding trans healthcare, the long-term effects and regret rate, wouldn't have to use Oli London to prove a point. By their logic, there should be an endless amount of detransitioners, yet they choose to platform the one that claimed to have married a cardboard cutout of Jimin from BTS. I don't expect any of these people to have any integrity, but for the love of God, would you at least pretend to care for authenticity? This guy was never accepted by the trans community at large. He was a laughingstock and known as a troll. From the very beginning of his online career and path to infamy, his brand was, I'm a white British guy getting plastic surgery to look Korean, and the reception has been overall negative. The more people he offended, the more attention he received. It was just a matter of time before he appropriated another group, such as trans people.
It feels like they just watched a couple coming out videos and, you know, took a lot of the language and the rhetoric and kind of twisted it into fitting their own narrative. It gives me very much, my pronouns are nor/mal. I identify as an attack helicopter. It just feels like a gag or like this desperate attempt for attention at the expense of the non-binary or trans community.
This is how a majority of people reacted to his initial coming out video. Whether they were respectful of his claimed non-binary identity or completely rejected all of it. Personally, I don't see the harm in using a different set of pronouns, but I totally understand why someone might doubt the sincerity of the entire video.
And I've had like 18 plastic surgeries now. These are just part of my transition, but I am coming out as non-binary. I don't feel I identify as male or female. I just feel like I'm just in the middle. My pronouns are they, them, Korean, Jimin, because I know a lot of people don't understand me, but I do identify as Korean, and I do look Korean now. I do feel Korean. I don't identify as British, so please don't refer to me, any media or anyone online, as British, because I identify as Korean. That's just my culture, that's my home country, that's exactly how I look now. And I also identify as Jimin, that's my Korean name. You don't understand, if you're trapped in the wrong body your whole life, like you don't understand. I haven't been trapped in this body my whole life, but it's been the last 8 years and it's been very tough. I'm non-binary now, so I can be addressed as they, them, Korean or Jimin, so they/them/Jimin/Korean, or Ko/Ian, Korean. That's how I identify.
As much as I wish to give Oli the benefit of the doubt, it's really difficult when everything he does is just another blatant attempt at provoking the public. In his third Barcroft TV video, he kept up with his transracial shtick, pretty much taking credit for coining the term.
I even coined the term transracial.
Obviously, there's people before him known for trying to change race, but I find this particularly interesting because he's gone on to deny it now that it no longer fits his narrative.
And the transracial word is kind of an interesting word because I didn't actually coin that word. I just said, oh, I like Korea, I want to be Korean, why not?
But I do identify as Korean.
Like, come on, don't pretend like you weren't trying to look Korean when you were out here claiming you had literally become Korean.
I'm originally from the UK, but actually I identify as Korean, so I'm from Busan, South Korea.
This is it. I've got my new nose, and oh my god, it's so beautiful. Here it is. This is my new nose, guys. I am so happy, and I can't believe it.
Oh my god!
My whole life. What is that?
Can someone please tell me why Oli London looks like the Grinch's gay cousin?
It's 2021, you know, people identify in so many different ways. I think it's fantastic people can be whoever they want to be.
I mean, yeah, it's 2023, you can be whatever you like, except this. We support you no matter what, as long as you don't turn out like this.
Wow, 𝒂💏💏 Jimin.
Fully committed to his trans Korean grift, he went on to announce that he was getting bottom surgery to affirm his Korean identity. Of course,
I do want to have a penis reduction. I do want a smaller penis.
Okay, I can't seem to find the size I want. Do you have any 3.5 inch ones, specifically the Korean one? Because I really want a Korean one.
You're wearing a Make Korea Boost Great Again hat in a shop looking for a Korean penis. Alright. Yeah. Now, this was only in the beginning of last year, and somewhere between his transracial trolling, finding God and detransition, he supposedly came out as a trans woman. In later interviews, he would deny that he ever made plans on having a penis reduction to make it more Korean, and in his retelling of events, he was misquoted.
I do want to have a penis reduction.
And was rather planning on having vaginoplasty.
I read online, correct me if this is wrong, you said that you wanted to cut or take reduce the size of your penis.
Yeah.
Because in Korea they have smaller size penises. Is that true, or is that just nonsense?
That was actually, it was misquoted.
I do want a smaller penis.
So basically I was going to transition, so I had the facial feminization, so I was going to actually cut it off. So I was going to go to Thailand and cut it off, you know, to look like a Korean woman. So, you know, it was misquoted. I did some interview in Newsweek and they misquoted it. So they said I wanted to cut a little bit off.
I do want to have a penis reduction.
I wanted to cut it off completely to transition to become a woman.
For the sake of this video, we're assuming that he genuinely identified as a trans woman at one point, though it should probably be noted that he specifically was transitioning into Rosé from Blackpink.
So I just want to come out and say that I now want to join Blackpink. My new name is Oli London. So I've just had all my surgery to look like Rosé. I still love Jimin, but I want to look like a girl, a Korean girl, just like Rosé, and I want to be the 5th member of Blackpink.
Oli London truly doesn't discriminate. He will steal anyone's identity. I don't actually care whether he was genuine or not. All I really care about is the fact that he's being made an example by the likes of Tucker Carlson, Tim Pool, Piers Morgan and Trigonometry to advocate against trans healthcare when he admittedly only considered the possibility that he might be trans after all of his surgeries.
And then earlier this year, I actually underwent 11 surgeries in one day. And, you know, I'm very happy with the results now. It made my face at the time more feminine. And, you know, I was unhappy still. And I thought maybe I'm trapped in the wrong body. And it sounds crazy, but, you know, I became trans for a while.
It's almost sad to see because I find it difficult to believe that these people take Oli London seriously. You either have to be clueless of his past, genuinely stupid, or willfully ignorant to sit down with the one and only Oli London and have a conversation about his detransition journey, and I'm leaning towards the latter. I want you to look me dead in the eye and say this sounds like an innocent and non-judgmental question.
So why did you decide to become a Korean woman? Who told you that was possible?
Similarly to his coming out video, it really sounds like he just watched a bunch of prominent right-leaning creators and is now throwing out a bunch of unrelated buzzwords. He's a walking parody, but they're just welcoming him with open arms.
That it's okay to change their gender, it's okay to, you know, wear a skirt, it's okay for a boy to use a gender-neutral toilet when it puts girls at risk. This is the new norm, and schools are teaching about toxic masculinity. They're eroding the alpha male. The alpha straight male has been eroded.
They're eroding the alpha straight male. I repeat, the alpha straight male is being eroded. Calling for backup.
The straight male has been eroded. You know, Tucker, what happened years ago when kids used to go to school, they used to idolize Superman and astronauts. Now kids are being pushed this radical ideology. They're taught to idolize weak men like Harry Styles, weak politicians like 𝒂𝒊𝒃𝒆.
As he went on to do more interviews, some people were surprised by how seemingly normal and down-to-earth he was, at least if you consider that he was getting his face completely demolished by shady practitioners overseas just a couple months ago. These people probably expected him to be throwing his own feces around like an ape at a zoo, when in reality, he knows exactly what he's doing. He managed to make a career of being a provocateur. It's not an accident. Oli London knows how to present himself depending on who he's talking to. When confronted by someone critical of him and his ideas, say Ethan on the 𝒂𝒊𝒃𝒆 podcast, he knows not to say anything particularly damaging about trans people and instead take on the role of a concerned individual.
Are you pro-gay rights?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I'm part of the LGBT community. I support people. My issue is just what's happening to children and also the erosion of women's rights. But, you know, I fully support people as an adult making an informed decision to change themselves. But I don't support children being medically transitioned.
This was almost immediately proven false when Ethan brought up fairly recent tweets of his.
Here's a tweet of yours from just the end of last month, not that long ago. You say, the goal of the trans movement is not simply to exist. The goal is to erase women, mutilate children, sexualize kids, take away free speech, class pedophilia as an identity, remove parental rights, indoctrinate kids, and they're willing to do violence to obtain their goals.
If you've watched the debate, you know that Oli was obliterated. Say what you will about Ethan, but he did come prepared and was able to not only refute any bogus claims, but also expose his inherent bias while interpreting studies.
Only 1% regret it. Do you? You're not acknowledging that.
No, I don't trust studies.
Why?
Even if you're saying it's
27 studies. Then why did you tell me to read this one, Oli? You use studies when it's convenient for you, but you don't when it goes against your thesis. I don't understand your consistency with studies. Do we like them or no?
Make no mistake, the purpose of debating Oli isn't to convince him that he's wrong. There's nothing that could get him to change his mind. At least not at a time where he's currently profiting off of spreading anti-trans rhetoric. Debating a person like this is solely meant as a public spectacle with the intent to discredit them and hopefully sway the opinion of anyone on the fence. For example, by locking him in a hypothetical where he either has to concede or be completely slam dunked.
As a Catholic, what do you think poses a greater threat? Drag shows or clergy members?
Oh, actually, there's a lot of scandals and very bad things that have happened with the clergy. And, you know, I'm against all forms of abuse.
If you had kids, would you feel more comfortable leaving them at a drag time, story time, or with a clergy member?
You know, if I had kids, I would actually be with them all the time. I wouldn't leave them anywhere.
You would never leave them?
No, because, you know, as a parent,
hypothetically, you know, you don't have to do it. I'm just talking hypothetically.
Well, again, I wouldn't want to leave kids anywhere.
But Barry doesn't have a choice.
As an adult, like I would say
Oli,
to Barry,
as a
just
Catholic,
be with your kids.
As a Catholic, I find it very concerning that you are hesitant to even answer that question.
Considering that Ethan is someone who only recently picked up debating, at least to my knowledge, this was a brilliant move. Despite his refusal to give a clear answer, it already says everything you need to know. Having aligned himself with people that are adamant that Drag Queen Story Hour is a threat to children, it should go without saying, but he knows that facts and logic isn't on his side. Though I have to admit, I don't really think that any of the people that bring him on their platforms truly care. I don't think any of them has ever looked at Oli London and thought, wow, this is a highly respectable man with strong values. When he went on trigonometry, they even said it to his face, that just a couple months ago, they were making fun of him.
While, you know, I'll be honest with you, 5 months or 6 months or whatever it was ago when the story first came up in the news, you know, Francis and I do this satirical comedy show 3 nights a week called Raw. And this guy from like London decided to be Korean.
Right.
we were taking the piss.
You'd have to be incredibly naive to think that someone could go from transitioning into a Korean woman to a born-again Christian man, exposing the evils of trans ideology within the span of a couple months. Most people doing interviews with him don't really seem to question that, or at least not give him too much pushback, and I can only assume it's because he's useful. He's supposedly this detransitioner exposing the truth of transgenderism, corroborating the narrative that society, schools, and social media are leading people, mostly kids, to believe that they're trans.
Meaning, I'm not so convinced a lot of gender dysphoria is rooted in the idea that people have within them the ability to be female or male or in the wrong body. What I see with your stories, I'm wondering if you'd agree or what your thoughts are. You're surrounded by Korean people you don't look like. And so part of it is you want to be a part of this community. You want to look like they do. You want to be like they do. Otherwise, you're this odd person out. This is an important story. We get so much of these kids who are, they say are transgender. And I feel like a lot of it is they don't fit in. They tend to be autistic. They may, many of them tend to be gay.
You know, indoctrinating these kids, telling them to hate their parents. And I think social media is probably one of the driving factors with this new phenomenon. And of course, the education system. I talk about all this in my book and stuff about where is all this coming from? Because we didn't have so much like this 20 years ago.
Are the trans kids the cool kids now?
Yeah, so particularly in America in schools, being trans or non-binary is considered cool and trendy. And if you're not in one of these groups, you're not cool.
How would you even know what's trendy in American schools? You're a 33-year-old Korean woman. I mean, you're a 33-year-old white British man. Where did you get this information? TikTok? Are you using TikTok as your source when you don't trust the studies that Ethan pulled up? Give me a break. Give me a break. What I will give the hosts of Trigonometry props for is their pushback against the prevalence of trans acceptance.
You say society is saying it's normal to transition. Oh, how did you get that impression?
This actually did make me laugh because it highlights how TikTok-brained Oli is to have convinced himself that his For You page is representative of reality. Like, dude, the reason you keep seeing trans people on TikTok isn't because everyone is trans. It's because you keep engaging with that type of content, so TikTok keeps pushing it to you. You absolute moron. Outside of trans-inclusive spaces, which you mostly find online, it's not normal to transition. In reality, trans people don't cross the mind of the average person. Cause there's so much else going on in the world, and the least of their worries is what's in others' pants. Oli might want you to think that he has absolutely nothing to gain from speaking out against the trans movement.
This is a detriment to your career.
Yeah, I lost so many brand deals. When I detransitioned and shared that, I got so much backlash, or so many brand deals, because, you know, I had clothing deals with a lot of brands, and they were kind of women's clothes and stuff, hair products. And I lost so many brand deals, and I got cancelled by a lot of people. I've got so many disinvitations to fashion shows.
When in reality, being someone who was disliked by everyone across the political spectrum, this is the first time he actually got anyone on his side.
I imagine the right is saying good for you and the left is threatening you.
Yeah, again, yeah, you summed it up. So I had some very kind people. So when I was going to church, all the people in church were so nice. They didn't know who I was, so they weren't judging me from what they'd seen online. They were just very kind, very nice, saying, you know, just be yourself, be happy. And they were great. And then the Conservatives were incredible. Many Americans have been so incredible and kind. But then on the flip side, the trans activists, God, they have been going for me for 6 months now, and real hate.
As Ethan so eloquently put it.
Because I was trying to feel validated and loved, and you know, it was very unhealthy.
The conservative movement has offered you quite an open hand. They're very glad to be using you as a mouthpiece against trans people. So it must feel good to be being accepted from somebody, even if it is at the detriment of many people who are at risk, trans people. It must feel nice to have people supporting you.
I would feel worse about myself, so I would try and be validated via online views and things. But in fact, you know, talking to BLM, actually, no, I'm not doing it now. If I wanted to, Ethan,
which is why you're on the show.
At the end of the day, it's all to build up hype for his book, Gender Madness, one man's devastating struggle with woke ideology and his battle to protect children, which is set to release the 15th of August. If this book is anything like his interviews, we can only assume it's gonna be filled with lies and misleading statistics. This brings me to my last point, and the actual reason I even made this video to begin with. Ever since I learned that Oli London is releasing a book about detransitioning, I wanted to review it for my YouTube channel, which would be a follow-up to this video. Though, as you can imagine, I have a number of doubts, and I'm not really sure whether the pros outweigh the cons. And to be clear, this isn't a question of giving Oli a platform or spreading this hateful messaging, because at the end of the day, I'm a tiny YouTuber. None of my viewers are gonna think, wow, this Oli guy has some pretty solid ideas. So the only one that stands to gain here is me. I'm the one to gain. I need more followers. Me. My only issue with this is that I of course don't want to financially support Oli London. I'm not gonna lie, I'm occasionally a dumb bitch, but I've got a heart of gold and good intentions, so I figured it's best to be transparent. I don't know what to do. I mean, ideally I'd get it secondhand as to avoid lining his pockets, but seeing as it's only about to release, I highly doubt I'll find someone selling their copy anytime soon. I could wait, but I fear that people will have lost interest by the time I get my hands on Gender Madness, one man's devastating struggle with woke ideology and his battles to protect children. You really need to shorten that title, Oli. To be fair, it doesn't cost me more than $20, and I'm sure Oli only get a certain percentage, which is like nothing in the grand scheme of things. I guess it all depends on how many people are interested in watching that video. I don't want to waste $20 and my time if I'm only gonna get a couple hundred views. Like, do it yourself then. Waste your money and time on Oli London's stupid book. Thank you.
How long have you been a man? How long have you been detransitioned? And you're writing a book already?
It's been 7 months.
Anyways, thank you for watching. Remember to like this video, subscribe, and turn on all notifications. Follow me on my social media. You'll find all the links in the description. For those of you that aren't up to date with my shenanigans, my current Twitter is Mylle Unfiltered. Musk got to my main account and I lost potential commissioners. So if you want to commission me, please DM at Mylle Unfiltered. You'll find my commission sheet in my pinned tweet. I could really use that money now. That's about all I had to say. See you in my next video. Take care. Bye.
They make from a girl.
All right,
to a
Oli
boy.
London, who is in favor of kids themselves. Thank you for calling. But
It's not even funny to joke about things like that.
Oh, I'm
It's
not
even
joking,
nice.
my friend.